the big question of the day. How do we bridge the value gap? Hey friends, it's Justin Goodbread here with the Financially Simple Experience. We're dealing with this idea of value gap. Ultimately, we're trying to reduce our stress. We're trying to come up with these calculations that we need to know in order to measure where we're at in this game of business, right? And so we first began with the wealth gap, and now we're dealing with the value gap. And in our last episode, someone said, man, Justin, you got really worked up, man. You're like passionate about it. Look, friends, there is nothing that I love more than teaching business owners how to become rock stars, how that they can drastically increase the value of their business, and in doing so, they can come to realize every dream that they ever had. That to me is what gets me out of bed. It's what motivates me as a business owner myself. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So today I want to deal with this idea of how we're going to bridge the value gap. Now, you may say, well, Justin, I got my pen and paper handy. We're going to dive deep into the concepts. Not really. I want to talk more methodology today. You're like, Justin, I'm tired of methodology. This is one that I need you to understand more importantly than anything else. Because if you understand this methodology, everything after this point becomes clear. So how do we bridge the value gap? Well, we're going to focus on the multiple. That's it. What does that mean? Yeah, we're going to focus on the multiple. So in my last episode, I got a little fired up at the end trying to give you a vision of what we're going with this value gap thing. Because if you truly understand this value gap, it will release so much frustration from your world. It'll allow you to sleep at night. Whenever you praise a business or whenever you value a business, there's several ways to value. And I write about this in my the Ultimate Sale book. And we're actually going to have a little bit of a preface to this in the new book that comes out in January called Your Baby's Ugly. So I can't wait for you to read that. But there's several ways to value a business. And without repeating all the different ways that we've dealt with already on the podcast, I want to bring it down to something simple. I realize that this is not the truest and the best way to grow the value, which is to measure the value, which is the intrinsic value. But I want to deal with the multiple approach. And I want to deal with it because you're riding down the road or you're watching me on YouTube or you're listening to me on some social media platform right now and you're saying, okay, I've heard the multiple before. And it's a metric that we can communicate. Now, in your business, you may end up having a discounted cash flow modeling method, which is what I like, okay? But the multiple approach at least allows us to have a measurement as we're dealing with this game of the value gap. And I want you to understand, more importantly, this simple concept that we focus on the multiple. What do I mean? Well, the mathematical equation to value, if we're going to use an illustration, we could say that we have $100,000 is our NOI, net operating income, or EBITDA, or EBIT, or net revenue, whatever number you want to use. I'm going to say it's EBITDA for today's conversation. So we have $100,000 in EBITDA in our business, earnings before depreciation, amortization, taxes, and income. Okay. You may say NOI, net operating income. $100,000 nonetheless is at the bottom of our financial statement. And our current multiple is 3, just as an illustration. So if we have $100,000 as our EBIT or EBITDA, and we have a multiple of 3, it means 100,000 times 3 is a $300,000 business valuation. So it means our business is worth $300,000. Now, what happens in life is this. When we get our business appraised or we find out what it's truly worth, by the way, don't wait till you're trying to sell it to do this, as so many people mistakenly do. They say, I'm getting tired. I'm going to get on a soapbox. Oh, y'all stand by for a second. I'm fixing, as an old preacher said, hold my mule for me while I preach a spell. An old country preacher I heard years ago in the backwoods of Georgia. He said, hold my mule for a second while I preach a spell. I'm going to get on a soapbox here. So many business owners, we go through our life working our fingers to the bone, right? And we say, I'm ready to sell. So we call up our broker down the road on the street corner and we say, sell our business. And he does a valuation. He says, hey, your business is worth $300,000. And you say, oh, crap. Or maybe another word. I can't sell it for $300,000. I have to get $700,000 for my business. And the broker says, it ain't worth it. Friends, you laugh as I kind of make light of that, but I can't tell you the dozens, hundreds of times I've seen that happen. Why? Let's be honest. Oftentimes business is stressful. Oftentimes business is frustrating. Oftentimes we in business run around like a chicken with a head cut off. We run around putting out fires as a firefighter. And before you know it, you go from age of 40 to the age of 60. And you never took time to quantify your wealth gap. And you never took time to quantify your value gap. I implore you, I beg you, I plead with you. Find out what the value of your business is today. It doesn't cost much money. You can work with a firm like ours and does it part of a process. You can go out and get your standalone appraisal. Find out the value of your business nonetheless. You'll be so better well served for it. So I digress. Okay, I'm off the soapbox. Give me my mule back. Here we go. So we have a multiple here. We have a business that has $100,000 in EBIT or EBITDA, and it has a three-factor multiple in here, which means our business is worth $300,000. And whenever we go to now try to sell our business, we realize it's not worth what we want it to. We have to actually grow it to $750,000. And so what do? We go out and we increase more revenue. We go out and we try to make more sales. And as we make more sales, what do? We put more pressure into our business and we increase the company-specific risk. And we end up working harder and harder and harder and harder. And yeah, we go from making $100,000 to $200,000, yet our multiple is still 3. So we're working twice as hard and we've increased the overall risk of our company through doing that. And we've had to buy new buildings and we've had to bring in new employees and we had to restructure our technologies and do all those things that come with whenever you double the revenue of your company. But yet we grew it to $600,000. We moved our EBITDA from $100,000 to $200,000, but our multiple is still 3. So now our business is worth 200 times 3 is $600,000. Had we just focused on the multiple and increased it from a multiple of 3 to 6, we could have arrived at the same position without as much effort or without as much company-specific risk.
If we had learned anything from recent events, it would be the importance of having a personal financial plan to weather any crisis life throws at us. Heritage Investors helps small business owners to reach their financial goals with holistic wealth management services. Learn how by visiting heritageinvestor.com today.
What do you mean, Justin? Well, if our EBITDA was $100,000 in my crude example, and we could grow the multiple from 3 to 6, then we have a $600,000 value. We reach the same end conclusion, just in a smarter way. Albert Einstein once said, or at least he's recorded as saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice or doing it multiple different times, requesting a different outcome. We business owners, we often do that. We often hit our heads against the wall to our own detriment. We go out and we work harder because, hey, we know how to work. Trust me. I know us. I know me. I know you. We know how to work. We will bust it. But at the end of the day, we are just tired and still broke. We're tired and broke. Let's be smart about it, friends. Now you say, well, Justin, can I truly move my multiple from 3 to 6 and keep my EBITDA the same as $100,000? Potentially. I go back to last episode. We look at the bell curve. If the average of your business is 3 and you're within the below average performer on metrics, but yet the best in class are selling at 6, then yes, you can make your business the best in class. You can move it from a below average or an average or slightly above average to now becoming the epitome or the pinnacle of your particular industry and thus moving the multiple from 3 to 6. It can be done. And friends, I've seen it done too many times. I've done it in my own company and we work with business owners who are rocking it out right now doing the exact same thing. But you said, Justin, I need $750,000. See, what happens whenever we focus on the multiple is this. As we become hyper efficient in our business, something miraculously happens. We end up increasing the EBITDA without even focus on it. We end up increasing the EBITDA. So what happens if we were able to get the multiple from 3 to 6 while simultaneously our EBITDA only grew by 25% and we went from 100 to 125,000 in EBITDA? But yet our multiple, which is where we were focused on, went from 3 to 6. All of a sudden now we're at $750,000. Friends, I often say that we can double our net worth every 3 to 5 years. It can be done. I just gave you the formula on how to do it. You focus on the multiple. Well, Justin, man, that seems awful easy, awful simple. Yeah, now granted, I'm overly simplifying this, which is why it's called the podcast Financially Simple. I'm trying to take a very complex strategy and bring it down to something which is ultra simple in concept, not something which is overly complex. Now, how do we grow the multiple? We're going to talk about that a little bit in the next coming episodes, but nonetheless, it can be done. As the old saying says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Or as my dad used to say, son, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. If you realize that you can reach your goals, you can bridge this value gap, then you will do it. We are business owners. We're entrepreneurs. We're the people who charge hell with a water pistol. That's who we are. If you realize there's a gap in your value, then seek competent help. I will spend $1 every day of the week if it gets me to where I want to be. Seek competent help. Speaking of which, let's hear a little bit from today's sponsors.
We all know the old adage, work on your business rather than in your business. The professionals of Heritage Business Advisors will help you to improve your business's value using such tools as strategic planning, operational efficiency strategies, and risk management. To find out more about how we can help your business, visit heritagebusinessadvisors.com.
So I want to bring this last picture in as we conclude this podcast. I want you to think about a water hose. You're like, the water hose, Justin? Now where are you going? Yeah, stay with me, okay? Give me the benefit of the doubt here. Let me be a little country and rock and roll at the same time, okay? Here we go. Grab a water hose. Whenever you go to that water hose, is yours neatly wound up? How many times did my mom and dad say, round up the water hose, and I just go out there and put it all in a circle, and it ends up getting kinked and turned around and knots and everything. You know, if a water hose is all entangled, the water's not going to flow through it. It just isn't. If you get a kink in the water hose, how many times have you been dragging a water hose across maybe to water the garden or something, and you look back and there's a kink in it, and you're like, oh, and you got to walk back to the kink and unkink it so the water will flow through it. Whenever we're dealing with value gap, all we're simply doing in business is unkinking your hose, unkinking the business. Your business wants to work at peak efficiency. It does. Your business wants to be the best in class. You do. You want it to be, and so does your business. The reality is so many of us are technicians, so many of us are managers, so many of us are entrepreneurs that we don't stand back and look at what do we have to do to grow the multiple. So, how do you bridge the value gap? You focus on the multiple. That's how you bridge it. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail in the next coming episode. Hey, look, friends, until next time, I realize life is hard. I get it. And life is frustrating. It doesn't have to be. We're going to continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and make it a great day. This tip is for informational purposes only. Please speak with a competent financial advisor regarding your specific needs. Justin Goodbread is a registered investment advisor with Heritage Investors. Visit heritageinvestor.com, financiallysimple.com for additional information.